Hello and welcome to the Team GIS Podcast. This is episode 2 of a 2-part episode in which me and Muzz are just sitting down and kind of putting everybody at ease over the podcast or Muzz's quote initiative and any other projects that may come up in the future. We just wanted to show what it's like being on one of these. It's more of an informal chat, just getting to know each other, our experiences, what we do, what we've done, and I'll just let us take it away.
All right. Okay. So I'm here with Andrew, and we're just going to be doing the kind of reply section of our podcast. So the other day he interviewed me, and then today I'll be interviewing him. Okay, Andrew. So tell me about what you studied at uni. What made you go and study that?
So I've always been really into music. I really got into listening to like heavy stuff, and that way where you really enjoy something so much that you want to like create it yourself. So I picked up guitar and I started playing and like becoming a musician and stuff. And it was actually one of my mates for high school, because when I left school I had no idea what I wanted to do. One of my mates went and done a sound production course, and I didn't know that was a possibility. So I was over at the college a few times, and I took part in a couple of recording sessions, and I was like, hey, this is really cool, and it's quite technology based. And I'm a massive nerd, I'll admit that. I'm super into tech and stuff, so I'm super into tech, super into music, sound production really combined the both of them. So I thought, this is sick, I'm going to go study this. So I studied sound production, and I really enjoyed it up until about the HND, where it was becoming far too academic for such a practical course. Really stopped enjoying that aspect of it. And then Glasgow Caledonian came out, and they kind of gave their pitch for their uni course, funnily enough, which is audio technology, so it's even more theoretical and tech-sided. But I thought, I'm super into technology. There's a little bit of video game stuff in there. There's writing your own code to make your own plugins and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go study this at uni. So that's how I ended up where I went to study and all that. It started as a passion, realised I could study it, and just kind of took it all the way.
Perfect, man. Yeah, and I totally agree with you when it comes to my course was the same when I did English at uni. It was the first 2 years was almost all theory and kind of looking at other people's novels or whatever else. And it was only until the kind of second half that I actually got to do the kind of practical writing myself. So I much prefer that, because that's kind of I guess that's what we're there for. As much as we enjoy other people's stuff, we want to see what we can make ourselves, which is great.
Yeah.
So following on from that. Obviously, you're doing audio production and you're the head of the audio team at the moment, but you were actually originally hired as a lecturer. So how are you finding this kind of, transition into doing audio? Is it what you expected within the company, or?
So, obviously when I started, as you said, I was hired as a trainee lecturer, so I was put in the academic team, and don't get me wrong, I don't mind writing, because obviously with the background in kind of an academia setting, I can write, but the audio stuff really is my passion. So it was when I started talking to people in the production team, and I realised there were some projects ongoing, and no one really knew anything about audio kind of to the same degree that I do. So I took on a couple of audio projects here or there, and then Jacob wanted to start a podcast, and I was like, hey, I will run the podcast if you want. And one thing led to another, and then I decided to start an actual audio division within the production team. And I'm still doing the podcast, and now I'm working with another member at GIS on actually putting an audio course together. So I started as a trainee lecturer, and I've kind of done a full 360 round, and I'm back to doing lecturing, building this course. So in a weird roundabout way, it's all kind of came together. So in terms of transitions, it's been pretty okay for me. I've kind of enjoyed and partook in everything I've done so far.
That's quite interesting, yeah, because your background was in audio, and then you ended up not getting hired for that, but then you did the audio, and as you say, you kind of come full circle, becoming a lecturer as well again. So related to audio, so it's kind of the best of both worlds, in the sense of your passion and what you got hired for. That's great. So tell me, what are some of the kind of challenges you faced in your role so far? Has there been any kind of major hiccups or difficulties, or?
So mostly the challenge I've faced so far has been trying to run the team podcast. people aren't really super keen on like taking me up on jumping on and talking about themselves, and like to a degree I understand that. It's like writing your CV. No one likes doing that. No one likes talking about themselves. So actual uptake and participation's a bit difficult. It's difficult to get people on board, see, especially if it's something they've never done before, or they're like, my equipment's not good, I only have a phone, things like that. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Smartphones are so good that the microphones in them are totally fine for like podcast recording and things like that. So that's kind of just been the biggest issue I've faced, because there's not really been any audio I've received so far that's been so unbelievably unusable that I haven't been able to do anything with it.
That's great, yeah. I mean, I totally get as well, like what you're saying. Like it can be quite difficult to speak, and I know a lot of people can be uncomfortable. But I think what's quite nice about this conversation is people can kind of see just how friendly and relaxed it is, and it's not a big deal just to kind of sit down and talk about your experience so far. So on a more positive note, what's the kind of successful things that you think you've accomplished so far in your role, apart from, of course, the great podcast that we've got so far?
So of course there is the podcasts, but before I started doing like the audio stuff, I still am pretty heavily involved in the academic team. So I've written a blog post, we've got involved with some of the projects they're doing there. I've learned to do a bit of script writing. So I'd say like my biggest accomplishments so far have been these extra skills that I've been able to pick up. Because obviously me doing audio, that's what I do. I'm always going to get better at that over time, but it's been nice to come in here and pick up all these skills that I didn't ever see myself doing before I started here. So self-improvement for me has been my biggest accomplishment.
I love that, yeah, that you've managed to see so much, like, I guess, diversification of your skill set. Like you get more kind of writing. And I'm definitely the same. Like I didn't know anything about audio production or kind of anything like that, but I've also been able to pick up a few things. So it's quite nice to see, like, yeah, you got your main thing and you can kind of obviously always improve that and work on it, but you kind of brought in kind of, I guess, secondary skills as well. So I guess this is quite like a nice way to kind of going off from that. It's like, where do you see these kind of the new skills and the kind of cementing of skills you already have? Where do you see that taking you in the future? Do you see yourself staying here or moving on, or what's kind of the plan, do you think?
So I think if the audio course that I'm in the process of putting together, see if that goes well, and like, because we're going to do like an internal test run of it and stuff, and if the feedback on that's really good, we're going to put it out there for people to subscribe to and get on board with and learn the things I kind of wish that I'd been taught directly at college. If that goes well, I'd be quite happy to stay here and continue to run audio courses and teach people that way. If not, like if something comes up down the line and I don't stay here at GIS, obviously I now have experience in a team lead position, which looks great on any CV. I can also say I've been actually doing audio for 6 months, because a big part of the creative industries, it's not so much your qualifications, it's the like time and skills and portfolio that you have. So I've also been able to build my portfolio here, so it would be much easier for me to go and get a job in the industry now than it would have been coming right out of uni.
I love that. That's really nice to hear, that you've got so many more opportunities and stuff. And as you say, like, practical experience pretty much is everything.
Yeah.
So of course, we'd love to have you here at GIS still, if the opportunities are there. But of course, if you find something else, and that's equally awesome. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate you taking the time to answer the questions. And to everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, I think me asking you questions, you asking me questions, I think it's been a good chat, and I think that's what I really want people to take away from this. Like, we're all friends here. Some of us are team leads, some of us aren't, but there's no real structure at GIS, so like none of us are like managers. You don't need to be afraid to approach anybody, and like I'm chatting away to you as if we're just mates. It's fine. It's totally okay to come and take part in things. It's the whole Kickstart program is really just for you to improve yourself and learn things and really take something away from it. So if you're listening, don't be afraid to approach anybody for taking part in podcasts or quotes, or even if you have ideas of your own. Like, everybody's here to listen, everybody's here to learn from each other. It's just a good learning experience.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.